Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Campus Corner presented by the Azubu Collegiate Champions. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Evva Kraikul. Sorry,
Yes, Kraikul.
Kraikul from the University of Minnesota and the the presidents of the UMN Gaming Club. And then also Ryan Cheu from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It's a pretty awesome school. So today we're going to talk about event management and getting your own esports event started with your club or just like with your friends, and going kind of beyond just getting people together and getting a venue together, getting a place together, but also getting to like the nitty-gritty weird stuff you may or may not know about in event management on college campuses. So I think we're just going to get started right away. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. And we're just going to start right away with Evva. Her club, the UMN Gaming, or the POM Gaming, at the University of Minnesota is probably the largest club I've seen in the Midwest region, hosting a lot of crazy lands, getting a lot of awesome sponsorships. I'm just going to throw it over to her to talk about what she's done in the past and how awesome they were.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Well, we at University of Minnesota really focus a lot on general gaming. We're more of an umbrella club, and we've hosted a bunch of different events, ranging from our first event, I think back in 2010, September of 2010, which was like a 2v2 StarCraft tournament, and then just a bunch of different events ranging from random gatherings, tournaments, all of those great things since then. Yeah.
All right.
Me?
Uh-oh, I think we lost him.
All right, there we go. Sorry. All right, that sounds really awesome, Evva. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. Let's go over to Ryan. He can talk about some awesome stuff that's happening at MIT.
Hi, I'm Ryan. So we're just a StarCraft club. We're not really general gaming. So we've just done a lot of StarCraft tournaments. I think we started in 2010. I was actually there for that, our first one. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. 2010, I think 2 years ago. But we held a StarCraft open tournament for all MIT students. And I think we get like decent turnouts. We get like 120, 140 the first 2 years. And then we've done that every year since. We've also done some other gaming things. We do things with Harvards and our local schools.
All right. So I want to follow up with that question. So I think we've talked in the past before, and I know the MIT StarCraft 2 team kind of has some kind of relationship with the media center. Could you elaborate on that?
We have a little bit. The person who's responsible for like talking to MIT for us is from the MIT Game Lab, and I know him pretty well. They've done a lot of good stuff for us in this past. Like, they gave us a protector, and they gave us, like, if we need any material supplies, they give everything for us.
All right.
That's nice.
All right, very cool. Evva, like, so does the UMN Gaming Club? It's like, again, I can't emphasize. It's a pretty large club. How many members do you have currently?
Well, we go on our members pay fees, and every semester it ranges. Currently, we have like 150 people who are membership fee paying members, I guess. But like, our reach is kind of further than that. We do a lot of like drives to get people to sign on just for our newsletters. A lot of people for our like Facebook pages, our Twitter and stuff. So there's people that are in the general community that are curious, interested, only want to come out to events when they're open and free to the public, and then there are people who actually like sign up for memberships and such. So yeah.
Is there anything kind of similar to MIT where you have a special relationship to some kind of media organization? Or are you guys more independent than that? Or,
we're pretty independent, but we are university funded. So, like, we're completely student run, and we we don't really have any sort of media outlet other than our university. That just gives us funding.
All right, well, very cool. And I guess I was supposed to come on. I think Mona was supposed to host, but she had a different thing to attend to today. So I was supposed to talk a bit about what I did. So the only lands I've really run at University of California, Irvine, was the CSL regional land last year. I think Ava, you helped out with that too at Midwest Meltdown.
Yep.
They had a regional LAN on the side. So from there, it was like about a couple months of planning. I want to say like about 4 months of planning, where we invited about 12 or 13 schools to our region, or to the campus, and they all competed kind of like Pro League style or the CSL regional LAN style. And it was a lot of fun, but a lot of work to put the event together. Other than that, that was probably the biggest event I've ever done, because that involved Duran, who's one of the other head admins of CSL, or Azubu Collegiate Champions. He brought in like some really big production stuff from people he knew, and really helped push the event production to the next level. But other than that, I've helped out with really standard LANs, like, you know, at the local LAN center, or just like renting a ballroom for like 5 hours on a Friday. I've also have experience with that basic stuff as well. And I think this is a good kind of segue to go into that kind of arena. So this whole discussion is going to be talking about event organizing, not only from the really big, like crazy Lone Star Clash level, which is unfortunate that Rosens can't join us today, but also at a very, you know, grassroots LAN, Friday night LAN in a classroom level. So first of all, I guess I'll start off by talking about kind of what you need to get like a really basic LAN going on campus. Like and you guys can jump in anytime. I would recommend first you need a group of people, like just to plan with you. You need a team of people, because it gets kind of overwhelming at times. And I think the most important thing is to decide on like a time and a location, because I find a lot of people start talking about where are we getting the prizes, where are we getting the sponsors, before they even figure out when the thing is even happening. So I will ask Ava, like how do you guys, I know you guys kind of meet up every,
we meet up every
Friday?
Week, actually.
Yeah, meet up every week to do a lot of games.
So I guess
okay.
Yeah, we actually, I guess just starting off something that's really simple, we actually have something that's considered like a LAN every week. It's just a gaming lounge. We set up networking. We basically book the whole room, or we book the room every Friday for the whole semester. So essentially we have a LAN every Friday, and that's not too much work or anything at all. But on a more like larger scale, when we start planning a tournament, we usually start off with like a proposal. So you have to plan basically everything out that you want to see from the tournament. Figure out exactly where you're planning on hosting it, what are some of the venue options. Yeah, just basically create a giant outline. And then once you have a proposal ready, usually most student governments will have somewhere that you can send a proposal for like funding from the university. I don't know if you guys have that at Irvine and MIT. Like, what are your programs like?
We have general club funding, but our university won't sponsor like events per se.
Okay. What about you, Tim?
So when I did the regional LAN event, to get funding from the school, we needed something like a very vast majority of people attending the event had to be UC Irvine students. So that might be something to consider if you want to host an event on campus. It's like if you want to bring a lot of people outside the school, and it's not really a direct benefit to the school in some way, like it's really hard to get money out of the university. And it's actually really hard to get money out of the university to sponsor an event anyway. I think it's more so with gaming clubs, because they're very new. Like I know there are cultural clubs, and you can also draw. Excuse me, I need to look at the web. You can also, with cultural clubs, you can draw a lot of like academic relationships, which is something if you can do with a game LAN, like more power to you. But it's actually really hard to do. But if you can draw any academic standing or like to your event, you can. It's a lot easier to get funding. But in general, just gaming events for me, it's really hard to get, I guess, pushed by the university. But what we do have is just for any club in general on our university, they'll give us a classroom, or they'll give us a ballroom if it's free for about like 5 hours with very little to no cost.
I think you went muted again.
But usually the scale of the LANs merits some costs, Excuse me, sorry.
Well, I guess with our university, we have three different types of funding, essentially. There's grants that basically, when we write our proposal, we have the proposal sent basically into this little grant system where it's called just student grants, like student activities grants, and you can get up to $1,000 for each club that's involved. So basically, if we partner up with, say, 5 or 6 clubs, or let's say 10 clubs, it's $1,000 for every club. So basically, you can do it that way, and the grants are due approximately like about a month and a half ahead. But of course, the big thing is, since it's such a small amount of money, the sponsorships is where most of the funding will come from. So they usually ask for at least 2 months ahead. So the grants really are kind of like almost an afterthought when contacting or figuring out how you're going to fund the event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think MIT has run our events on a much smaller budget probably. I think we probably don't get as much monetary funding. We just try and do everything just on our own as much as possible because there aren't that many expenses. Like we get like $500 for food, and then we have a sponsor for prizes and such. But then we just reserve rooms from our local university. We still get a pretty good showing because we just have like a big theater from our lecture hall or something.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, I could go down that route where like I do host club meetings in some places where you have a projector and you have a lot of outlets, and you have really good internet, and then it's all completed, it's all packaged into the room that you book, so you don't have to worry about that. But in other cases where I've ran events, it's like, well, you need to pay for the projector you're using in the room. You need to like wheel in a projector.
You have to pay for the microphone that you're using. You have to pay for the TVs. I mean, all those miscellaneous fees. Oh, and also the people, the staff those times too.
Yeah.
So the university has to hire those people. Oh, and security guards.
Yeah, that's something that people don't really know. Like, if you draw a fairly large-scale LAN where you need a ballroom, and then you need to like get all the internet and get all the projectors together, you actually need to pay for, like Evva said, like people to just like essentially babysit like the systems. Like if something goes wrong, they're on call to fix it. But if they don't, then you're just kind of paying for them to babysit you. But it's like you cannot avoid it. Like I've tried avoiding it. I've tried to make excuses, but it just doesn't work. I don't know, Ryan. Like you said, Ryan, you have a lot of different classrooms that support that.
I think maybe it varies from university to university. Like I had to go to the police to get approval, but they won't send people. Like we said we like might get like 200 people. They're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
They just let us go. So we just have no costs really other than food and prizes, I guess, for our events, which is nice. The game lab will donate like projectors and everything if we need it, and speakers and such. So we have that, which is nice.
Oh, well done. Well, I mean that's actually really true too. That's kind of the benefit to if you partner with like a game lab or a media center or something like that, is that they can just give you a projector that they have in their storage room or something they normally use. That's something I haven't managed to do yet. But Evva, have you tried something similar, like partnering with another, like a filmmaking, let's say a filmmaking club to donate you cameras?
So for the most part, we haven't really partnered up too much with very much on the campus. We really like to purchase our own equipment so that we know that it will always be there, I guess. So yeah, we've purchased all of our networking equipment. I know we've purchased spools of Ethernet cables, and have crimped them ourselves and such like that. But yeah, most of our stuff. We've also been really fortunate to have a couple of buildings that were just built not too long ago, which have TVs just around the whole room. I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of some of our events or anything, but yeah, there are pretty much just TVs all around the room, so it's easy for us to just hook up and go. And our internet is fantastic, so yeah, I don't know. We've been pretty fortunate to be able to purchase a lot of our own things. The U has been really supportive though, so there's a bunch of different programs where you can get funding from, and after you're 2 years old, you can actually apply for a large lump sum of money instead of writing those grants every, 2 to 4 months when you want to host an event and want funding for it.
Yeah, we have a similar thing at
Continue, sorry.
Okay, sorry. We have a similar thing at MIT. Like after we were on provisional funding for like 2 years, and after that, now we can get like $1,000 a quarter in funding or something. So so we actually have all of our network equipment and Ethernet cables already for events from past years. So yeah.
All right. I think that's a pretty good introduction, kind of to just the general logistics, like, okay, booking the room and unexpected stuff and just things you need to get together. So let's start talking about how to really start funding the event. So obviously, I think all of us experience like just getting money to pay for things like event insurance, like people have no idea about, or just like networking if the room doesn't support it, or projectors if the room doesn't support it. And Eva, I think you mentioned a really big part of that is sponsors. Whether it's sponsors with product or sponsors with money, I think those are two things people don't really understand. Is like most sponsors will be quick to give you some product because it's, you know,
it's product.
It's product. Yeah, it's actually pretty easy for a company to give you product, as long as you're not asking for like every student to get like tricked out with like the latest gear. But like, you know, first, second, and third, it's completely possible. But with money, I think that's a lot harder, if not near impossible, for some organizations, especially depending how big your event is. So I'm going to start with Ryan this time. Have you ever had to deal with event sponsorship stuff like this, and how did you go about it?
Yeah, so I know in the past years, we've gotten Twitch TV sponsored one of our tournaments. We had and we've had a local stock brokerage company or something. I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Was it mainly a recruiting effort, or are they like esports and stock brokering?
Yeah, really. So what was their interest in
what
that?
were they? Consultants. Okay, they're consultants.
Okay.
My team just corrected me. Okay, all right.
Is your team just watching in the background?
Yeah, they're in the background right there.
Giving you pro tips.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I think they were big StarCraft players.
Mm-hmm.
So they saw the appeal of it, and then they also just used it as a big recruiting event. They prepared like a PowerPoint like before the finals. They just talked for like 45 minutes and tried to recruit everyone.
I see.
So they gave us a decent sum of money, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year we had Zowie as product sponsorship for our event. That was nice. And Twitch was also there. I was only part of getting the Zowie one, though.
All right. Ava, a bit more about your experience?
Sure. Really, we basically have two different types of sponsorships. We have organization sponsorships, so we usually prefer to do organization sponsorships, which they usually just give us, say, a lump sum of money at the beginning of every semester, and we do what we do with it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And we basically have some sort of negotiations where essentially maybe their product is very highly promoted within the lounge every week.
Yeah.
So there's always NOS around, you know, and every photo that you see just happens to have NOS in it because everyone's drinking it and it's free flowing. Just there's organizational ones, and then we have event sponsorships, which are definitely more, a lot of them do prefer to give product. I think the main thing to be really clear to when you're finding sponsors is have that proposal that, you know, that we kind of talked about earlier, that you developed at the beginning. Have that proposal ready, and have a clear outline of basically what you expect out of the sponsor for what they're going to give you. So I know that for us, we have different tiers of sponsors, and every tier has basically like things that we'll be able to provide them, whether it's their name on our newsletter or like their logo on our newsletter, their logo on the front page, their logo on, you know, the side of our stream or something of that sort, or verbal mentions, or, you know, just stuff like that. But yeah, it's just I guess be very clear as to what you expect from them, and also what they're going to get out of it if they were to sponsor you with X type of product or money.
Yeah, we found it a lot easier to get sponsored for future events after we've run a few, because we can, like, when we go to them, we can say, look what we've done before. Look, we did this great event. We would take pictures, and we make sure that we show them what we did in the past. So and then they're like, oh, you can do it again.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
All right.
that's something that I would say too for people who are just starting up. Just do it. I know I've heard this so many times on so many streams, but seriously, just go do it. Don't be too discouraged. I'm sure that a lot of people would be willing to just help out, mention it on, whatever forums that you use for your university. But just do it. And the first time it's going to be rocky and such, and the internet's not going to work, and people are going to be tripping over cords and falling over. But at least you're going to have some sort of documentation. Make sure to take pictures and stuff so that for next time, you'll be able to show your sponsor some sort of value for basically what they're going to be funding you for.
Yep. I would totally agree. I think, yeah, that's something you hear a lot. Is you just hear people. I know at least for two years ago, I would never thought I would have put on a large scale event on my campus, let alone a really big like video gaming or esports type event. Until I just was just like, all right, today I'm just going to start the process and see where it leads me. And that kind of just led us to the Irvine Regional Land and the various other different club meetings and lands. So I definitely would echo that sentiment. It's just like, if you really want to do this, just tomorrow start the process or start researching the process. But I think a lot of people still are a bit intimidated because they don't really know where to go. So I think it's a good time to talk about maybe if we can try to outline step by step how to really get there. Because I'd say the first step is, of course, get people together because you need a team if you don't want to kill yourself. Get a team together and then decide on a time and date and like book the room. So when I go book a room, I have to go to some kind of event planning center or event center or a classroom management center and say, I'm looking to do this. Like, you have to just say your entire plan because they are there to help you. So, and they also point out a lot of different things you wouldn't like keep in mind. So like when I told them I want to do this really big LAN in January, they were like, have you considered power of the room? Have you considered internet in the room? I'm like, well, I thought that's a given. They just like shook their head. That's absolutely not.
How many circuits are in the room?
Yeah, how many circuits are in the room, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Ryan, can you tell us a bit about like what's the first step you kind of take before planning an event?
All right, so I think we just choose a date, like you said, get the people together, start sending emails out, and then in our campus we have to register the event ahead of time.
Yeah,
so we have to go to the office, like you said. So like a lot of the same things, and just we have to usually for us we reserve the room ahead of time as well, and we also have to worry a lot about reserving advertising space. So like we like to get desks out in the middle of the hallways to try and attract people to our event. And we want to get like posters, we want to get space on the projectors that run throughout the hallways. And a lot of times we found that student groups reserve these like way in advance. So you have to get there. Like if we try to reserve if we try to reserve like 2 weeks ahead of time, there won't be any space at all.
Especially for some of the nicer spaces.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They're like a lot of them will also, like, if you do forget though, like a lot of these organizations will reserve them and then not use them, so you should probably try anyways, because they're so rare. And then I think the next thing is we just start looking for sponsors. You gotta tell the sponsors really early because they take time. You have to go through multiple levels of their management and stuff. You'll probably get to like the first person. The first person won't really be able to help you, but they'll talk to you for a while. You have to keep going up. And then advertising, and then setup, I guess, for the live event.
No.
It's like a lot more detail in that. I'm not sure how far I should go.
Yeah. Well, Evva, can you talk about like kind of the first steps your club takes?
Sure. Luckily, we have a team that we usually have established already at the beginning of the semester. So we basically get together and we use an outline. Things get easier as you go. So there's already an outline where we just go through and say, here's the stuff that we need. Here's a prospective date, the rooms, go through basically everything. People are assigned different tasks. So maybe someone, since each event might have a different expected amount of people, say 500 for this event. We're expecting 500. Someone might be assigned to go look at all of the rooms on campus that they would consider for 500 people and get the costs out. And we basically after everything has been assigned to someone on the team, you basically get back together again with all of that information, and then you start filling out this proposal, essentially.
Yeah.
And then you fix all the little things. There's usually the second step is really big because, okay, now we have 5 options for rooms. How many circuits does each of them have? How much does it cost for 8 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a base cost, and then there's, additional hours will cost you X amount?
Yeah.
Will they require you to have an electrician that comes in? How much is that going to cost? So essentially setting a budget right there and then. And then after we get that done, usually we'll propose those, we'll have our proposal basically be sent off to our sponsors or prospective sponsors. And then usually that's about 2 months of basically nagging at them.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time for sponsors, and you gotta just, I think Alex Garfield said this too, is just if you don't hear a no, that means it's still a maybe. So always bug them and just keep bugging them and bugging them until you either get a yes or get a no. And then at about the 1 month point, we submit a grant basically to our student union, and then they'll basically have that approved or not approved by usually within a week after submission. And then we actually have to go into the student union and have a discussion with them on our planning again. And that's the same thing that you'll have with all of your sponsors, where they'll want to understand, like, they've accepted your proposal, now you have to have a face-to-face conversation with them. So
Yeah.
Like the university is basically another sponsor. And yeah, so that's when things get really real.
Yeah.
And you start checking out your venue and seeing where you're going to put people, setting out a layout of where everything's going to go. Yeah, so everything's kind of coming together at this point, and then there's a dry run. So usually we try to have about one kind of pre-dry run where everyone's there and walking around searching the whole space. So you actually have to reserve the space for a pre-dry run and then the real dry run. So everyone's kind of there. All the teams are kind of taking a look at where they're going to be, where they're going to set their things up. And then the real dry run comes and you actually try to do everything then.
Yeah.
So we ran it, for example, at the Midwest Meltdown, we ran into a problem where they were going to charge us for using the projector and using all of those things before the date of, and we did not know that they were going to charge us since it was just a dry run, and we had communicated with them that it was just a dry run, and they hadn't mentioned that they were going to charge us, so we didn't end up using the projector the first day. Yeah, for at least the dry run, and yeah, then the event. And I'd say that the event is kind of the point where I know that most event coordinators might actually be really, really nervous for, but I know that for myself at least, I know that my team has done the most that they can, so all you can do is that you hope that you've prepared your teams well enough, and all things that will go wrong and can go wrong will. So the best thing that you could tell your team beforehand basically is that things are going to go wrong and we're going to have to fix them really fast, but you guys have done really the best job that you can up until this point. So yeah, after that you're just fixing problems the whole time and running around.
Yeah.
And then after that is basically closing everything up, making sure you post photos, and contacting all of your sponsors afterwards and such like that to make sure that they have all the materials that they need so you can keep them happy, and hopefully they'll invest in you next time too.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to really highlight, you kind of went all the way to the very end. That's really cool. I wanted to highlight, like, the point after you book the venue, there are all these little things you never really consider, and we talked about this earlier a bit, is like, you know, I think Ryan is kind of lucky here. He's like, you know, I never have problems with power or internet, but
Well,
like,
we've got
yeah.
this year. Like MIT had like a power outage before our event, and all the
Okay.
wireless routers got damaged. And then
Well, that's campus wide though.
what?
No, that
Yes,
happens to your whole
campus-wide.
campus. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I know-
Well,
But yeah, we've been lucky otherwise.
I know in St. Paul they were super worried about us, just blowing the whole place out because we didn't have enough power. So they required us to bring in an electrician, and that cost like $1,300 to get just additional power in this
Yeah.
place because they said that they had buffets there before, and just turning on the little buffets will like turn off all the power.
yeah. One thing to
They were
note:
scared of that.
if you're hosting a LAN, and this goes for everyone, like attending or hosting, but desktops are the devil. Like 4 desktops in one space will like blow out a circuit, but like 16 laptops will not. I don't even know, but like if you have a laptop and a desktop, bring the
We
laptop.
have the calculations for this too,
Yeah.
just because our university is like scared to death
Yeah.
that we're going to hurt their precious, resources
Yeah.
by bringing in desktops and laptops. So we had to for our proposal.